welcome back to the Growing Revolution, sponsored by Smart Pot Fabric Planters. I'm Eric Olson with Smart Pot, and our guest this week is Eric Hall, who's a tree farming consultant and the inventor and distributor of a product called the Monarch Auger, which works hand in glove with our root control bags, making tree farming a breeze. Eric believes so strongly in the Monarch Auger to the extent that he has obtained full patent rights to the unit. So, Eric, welcome to the show.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on today. What an honor and what a privilege to be able to get and visit with you guys about the Monarch Auger and how it's revolutionizing the grow bag or in-ground tree production status.
Yeah, absolutely. The more I learn about the Monarch Auger, the more I think, well, shoot, I can be a tree farmer. This anybody could be a tree farmer with this unit. So, Eric, what's your background and how did you get into the tree farming industry in the first place?
Yeah, well, as a very young child, growing plants and especially trees made me tick-tock. That's what I like to do, and so I definitely wasn't looking so much as what it was going to be paying me in the long run, but if it was what I was liking what I was doing. So, my likeness for doing the work, and it just felt like that was my purpose as to how I need to contribute to the trade and the world of the kind, and that's how I got into it. Should we talk about my going forward with my education on that, and maybe
So where did you? So you've got a college degree in horticulture?
Well, it's actually forestry with emphasis in forestry management, and the emphasis also on top of that was the production of young seedlings or young trees. So that gears a lot towards the nursery side of production. And I went through internships while I was at college, and then after that, I've worked for many successful farms and nurseries across the United States, and so that's really how I got all into all this.
Yeah, what are the responsibilities of somebody like yourself managing a tree farm nursery? What are you guys up to?
Well, most of the time, you ultimately want to start with your safety. You want to make sure you have a safe operation. This type of trade is a very hands-on, physically demanding trade, and next behind that needs to be your levels of efficiencies in production. So handling those aspects then it allows you to be profitable and make your business work rather than it being a hobby.
Yeah, safety first in any industry, definitely. So then, can you talk about how you came up with the Monarch Auger system? Safety. It seems like the Monarch system is a safe system. Seems like it helps to reduce people using shovels and backbreaking labor. So can you talk about the Monarch and how you developed that?
Exactly. So yes, the frame of mind was seeing it from the safety side first, but then the production side after that. But I learned that I was having to use so many hands of labor to install my fabric containers in the ground, as much as 19 individuals to get the number of production quota that I needed. Well, when I had that many individuals working behind shovels mostly, shoveling the soil back into these bags, started developing, workers' comp claims, sore backs and legs and, shoulder injuries and on, et cetera, like that. And so then I started reaching out to the trade, talking to other folks and trying to see what is the solution to this problem. What we've identified is definitely a big problem in this trade, and it seems to be holding the trade back for advancing because it was a heavy learning curve for me to see, to overcome this problem of why so many growers are not wanting to adopt this system of growing, and it was the upfront installation cost. And so, after lots of review and talking to peers in this trade and industrial people, that could fabricate items, crossing the trades with the nursery trade and with mostly fabrication shops, so that being a type of welders and designers. Well, this evolving process here started, and that process took many years to put on paper first, and then after that we had to start designing the items and to make this system work. And when that all started going through and we actually had a unit to be able to try in the field, that took the years of process to doing that. But once the many years that went past after developing the Monarch Auger, I learned that this Monarch Auger, not only, yes, it is absolutely safer to use than the standard back-breaking shovel, but it allows us to be 6 times as faster than what we was doing before.
Wow.
And I'm speaking the 6 times faster, just on a labor standpoint. From using 19 individuals, we dropped that down to 3 to 4 individuals.
That's amazing.
And we were still achieving the same level of production. And so when we was able to drop that level of workforce, that most certainly that was able to drop the level of liability claims on our end. So it was really heavily built upon the safety aspect of being able to advance this trade and solve that number one issue of why growers are not adopting this type of system to grow their trees.
Not only the workers' comp claims going down, but just the hours going into the field. That has to really improve profitability for a tree farm to eliminate 3/4 of their workforce that they need. That's a amazing efficiency. How do tree farmers install our root control bags if they're not using the auger? They're just using a regular auger, and then that kind of drills the soil up. They put the fabric bag in, fill it with the soil, and then put the tree start in, and then they're done, right?
Yes, in a very layman's way of saying that, correct. Yeah, that's how it's very done. There's no special augers that is needing. A standard auger, one could even be rented from a local rentals company store, can be done to put these bags in. And you have typically the size auger that your size of the container that you're putting in the ground. Though there is some level of forgiveness there on the size. For instance, let's say you only had access to a 24-inch soil bit, but you was using a 21-inch bag. Well, then you can still install that 21-inch bag with that 24-inch bit. And that similar situation there, that is what happens with the Monarch Auger. You don't have to have specifically the spot-on diameter size that you are installing with the fabric bag.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I thought it had to be spot on. So that's cool that there's some wiggle room.
Yes, and so through my consulting process of teaching people how to grow more profitability in these bags with this Monarch Auger, when you auger a hole a little bit larger sometimes, and it just depends on your soil site. When you auger a little bit larger hole, it gives you a chance to be able to amend a little bit larger area of the soil, because the roots in these fabric bags, they do extend past the bag, and those roots that extend past the bag are your very heavy fibrous feeder roots. And so if you amend that soil just beyond that fabric, sometimes it will give you even better turnarounds and rates of return on your growth rates.
Makes sense to me. So not only is this efficient for production, but you also told me that you can incorporate a soil fertility program, which you also consult your customers on. Can you explain, what you analyze and then recommend to your customers, and then how much faster to harvest? How much faster are your customers getting their trees to harvest using added soil fertility versus just using the Monarch Auger and the root control bags?
Absolutely, yes. That's wonderful conversation there, and that could definitely invite for another podcast at a later date. But to introduce how to improve or amend your soil, we first look at your soil type. That's very important to look at your soil type. And your soil type, that's your percentage of amounts of sand in that soil, percentage of silt, and percentage of clay. That's one of the very early starts of learning about soil. And before we get a little bit more detail into this, I should also say that everybody's soil can be improved. And so there is no one perfect soil. Everybody's soil can be improved in some way or another. And so this Monarch Auger gives you the ability to churn and mix that soil much like you would mix in a bakery or a culinary process of producing, say, the perfect recipe for your dish. Well, this Monarch Auger gives you the ability to develop a much better soil structure. I mentioned that, your soil type. And so the very basis of starting out would be identifying your soil type of those percent sand, silt, and clays. And then maybe what would probably fall in second of that is going to be your soil pH, how acidic or how alkaline your soil is, because plant nutrients, specifically tree nutrients also, they require certain levels of pH to be uptake at optimal levels. So a 5.0 pH is going to uptake a different rate of elements of nutrition versus even a 6.0 or 7.0. And throughout the year, those trees need different levels of that particular nutrient, and we have to match that pH with that time of the year or that type of plant's need for X element, and that is a very large driver of how fast this tree is going to grow throughout the year. We all think that trees may only grow during the growing season, but roots grow a very lot in the dormant season, just depending on what part of the country you're in. As we're talking mostly right now about the southern United States, but the southern United States, the roots grow well into the months of the fall, and could be into the later part of the growing season. So you ask about just really how much faster amending and improving soils can bring a grower through my consulting and through use of the Monarch Auger. I will certainly tell you, through all the individuals that I have helped across the United States, and this has been from coast to coast, north and south, east to west in the United States, I have had everyone I have helped had at least 20% gains on their growth, at least. Now, the greatest I have had was a company that exceeded 40% rate of growth from what they was doing before. So, and that's where everybody's soils comes into the factor of, well, just what is in your soil, and how can we improve that, and I should also say that at this time, as we're talking about soil is a very dynamic media of growing, and soil is a living media. Soil, may be
It should be.
that's right. And it's been it could be a challenge to understand that soil does need to breathe. It needs to have oxygen in it. It needs to have pore space, and so that's where all of this perfect recipe, much as like you talked about in the baking or culinary process, when you add your ingredients to the soil to improve the soil health, that's going to translate to the trees, to where, or the tree roots or the plant roots for that matter, to where it's going to grow in at least optimal conditions, and those optimal conditions then correlate to faster growth, faster vigor, better health. And I hadn't mentioned this, but when you have a plant that is in better health conditions, it's able to ward off any or several diseases or insects that may come and attack it. It's much
Yep.
like us as humans. If we stay healthy, we do our regular checkups through going to our doctors, and same way with when you sample your plant tissue, sample your soil samples, take water samples. You're providing the nutrients and the conditions for that root to grow in its optimal state, to
Yeah.
say the least.
Are you do you use a Brix refractometer to test the Brix levels of your trees, or no?
No, no, not necessarily. No, no.
Okay.
There's yes, there's many different types of tools that you can use to make this process, to fulfill it
Yeah.
out to the end, and that's where I've kind of made that jokingly comment at the beginning of that question there, that we spend now a lot of time on answering this, because I knew it could be a very, very detailed explanation of it. And so,
Yeah, I think definitely we have some room to expand upon the fertility topic, definitely. Jumping ahead, have you calculated? Now I know between increased growth rates and savings of labor and all that. Have you calculated what a break even point is for farmers who are using the Monarch Auger? Like, how soon do they kind of break even on their investment there?
absolutely, yes, I do get that question almost out of every individual that's interested in the Monarch Auger. So how soon is this going to pay back to me? And so, before I can answer that question, we have to know what size containers they're using. And I'll tell you that most commonly the individuals that buy the Monarch Auger, they're buying it most commonly in a 24-inch size, and that's been the case for the last 5 to 6 years. So we'll speak in terms of the 24-inch size. On the 24-inch size, after approximately 50 hours of operational use of the Monarch Auger, it will have its break-even cost covered. Okay, and yes, that's a very eye-opening statement to say that. So I can relate that back to how I said earlier that I was using, when this development stage started, I was using 19 individuals to install these in-ground bags. So when I dropped 2/3, 3/4 of my labor force off just on installing the bags, now instead of using 19 individuals, I'm using 3 to 4. So now I'm using 15 less individuals. So if you take and I'm just looking at your labor force. I'm not looking at say improving your soil health. So
Right.
it's really less than 50 hours if you want to look at it from a standpoint of improving your actual growth of
Wow.
your trees. So I'm looking at it just on a labor standpoint. So after 50 hours, that labor cost is covered for a 24-inch Monarch Auger. With the quantities of bags you're putting in, because on average, a 24-inch bag, they're putting in 150 to 200 on average. So many variables are going to be involved in that, but so if you do the calculations on the math, you'll come to the understanding real quickly on the labor side is where it's going to really bring the return back to you. I don't know of really much other large equipment invest that a company could do that will get them that return back in just 50 hours of running.
I was expecting you to say something in like 3 years or 2 to 3 years, like 50 hours. Okay, so farmers are able to grow, harvest, and transport trees, much better using our root control bags, and then in conjunction with your Monarch system. Why would a tree farmer not use your system?
Well, yes, that is a question I have heard many times in this trade, and so that question really steps back to just a very very uniform comment of saying that change is difficult for us all.
Yeah,
Okay.
especially the farming industry. They're very generational. They like to do what their daddy did and their daddy before them.
That's right. I mean, it's I don't want to put you on the spot, but it's much like when you travel to work or you travel to the grocery store, you have a designated travel path that you like to make, on your regular basis. So how often do you change the way you go to work or the way you go to the grocery store? And just as simple as a statement as I got, just change is difficult for us all. And when we get settled into a way of doing it, you just really have an answer to say back sometimes that, well, that's the way we've always done it.
Yep.
And so, but I will say that once the individuals that have contacted me see this auger in action, it gives them a lot more energy or drive to adopt this type of system of growing.
Yeah.
And I have several companies that have bought these from me that are open doors to seeing this Monarch Auger work with boots on the ground. So, people can contact me, and I'd be very willing to share contacts with them on who they can go see. See this product actually work themselves. When you see a product work firsthand in front of you, it's much different than seeing it, on a digital video or some pictures. You like to see it in person, and that's what I've really learned about hands-on farmers and people in this trade. They really need to see it themselves and put their hands on it before they can really adopt that level of change. Because change is hard for us all. I mean, it is.
Yep. Yeah. The farming industry, is slow to adopt change, but once something catches, it kind of spreads like wildfire. So, I think you're going to be selling a lot more Monarchs in the future. You're manufacturing these in the United States?
Absolutely, yes, certainly. So we use several different fabricators and steel designers on improving the product. I will say that there's very subtle changes that we've had to make to the Monarch Auger over the last. I've been selling this for about 5 years now, the Monarch Auger, and so it was about that same amount of time that we actually even developed it. Before we even started selling it to the market. So we was using this unit over many different soil types, over many different locations. As I say, prototypes. We wanted to make sure that it was working without having to do a recall back to change any major aspects of it. And then that's what led me to go ahead and get the patent status on it, because I knew I had a very solid product now that was not going to have any changes to it. But yes, absolutely, my manufacturing is done here in the United States, and with mostly, if not entirely, all American-owned products.
Nice. Being an American-made product ourselves with High Caliper Growing Smart Pot, we definitely appreciate American-made products for sure. Eric, how can people get in touch with you to get some consultation and learn more about the Monarch Auger?
Oh yeah, yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great opportunity there to be able to share that with you guys. So, I probably the easiest way to get a hold of me at this point is a phone call or a text message. That's I'm getting my websites built right now, so they're not quite live, but we'll that'll be at a later state. But right now,
what's the web address for people who are watching this? A year from now when we're filming it, what's the web address? Do you have a web address?
Oh yeah, yes sir. Sure enough, yeah, it's going to be monarchaugers.com.
Okay. Cool.
MonarchAugers.com.
We'll put that on the screen, and then did you want to give out your phone number as well to folks?
Oh yeah, certainly. So yes, that area code number is 318 and then 278-9763.
Nice. And then email?
Yes. Well, we can start out with the with a text or phone call. I've learned that's really what builds on the conversation first, and then we can go from there off the email, because the new website's going to come with its email domain too. So nice. That's still in development stages. So we're going to the email I'm currently using is likely going to be under suspension when that domain becomes live. So we'll hold that off for now.
Makes sense. Well, Eric, it's always nice talking with you and chatting with you. I always feel like I learn something new every time we have a chat. So I really wanted to thank you for your time today and for joining us on the Growing Revolution.
Yes, absolutely, yes, and yeah, it's a very nice opportunity to be able to get to share this opportunity with the rest of the folks out there that could be interested in growing their plants and trees in the in-ground, and then how improving their levels of success and safety and profitability with using this type of system.
Well, if there's any tree farmers watching this right now and you haven't been convinced already, please give Eric a call and he'll seal the deal, no doubt. So until we chat again, thank you, Eric. Good chatting with you.
Absolutely, yes, yes. You guys have a great day.
You too.